we have to use the power of the context and the fact that one context can essentially use data from the other context. So devices, we use the context from node. So the device context needs to observe the selected node. Based on that, he can basically react to the selected node and read its SSID and then perform the call. One way to do that, probably it's not the only one, is to use the use effect, and we will add as a dependency array the selected node. So first thing, we need to pull the data from node context into device. And remember, we can do it because we have these dependencies. So nodes is the master, it's kind of at the root, and device is here. So one can read from the other, devices can read from nodes. Okay, so here we're gonna say that we are extracting use context and then node context. Okay, so first thing we can do is to print it, see if, let's reuse this one. So after the spaghetti, we should see the selected node. When it's selected, let's see, boom, devices context has the, I will enlarge it for you. So start it. Devices context at the beginning is undefined. So we need to take care about that case as well. But once it's selected, you guys can see we have the selected node. So here it's sending essentially the Wi-Fi node, or it's not sending, it's the other way around. So this context is pulling the information that has been shared. So this is an important step. Now we can create a use effect to react to that. So we're not going to pull the data every time it's loaded, every time the component is rendered for the first time. We are just reacting to the selected nodes. So what is suggesting, if selected node calls devices, let's ignore it. So in our own way, I would say if it changes, let's start console logging it like that. And then we say use effect selected node. Okay, so let's start from these pieces that I added. Use effect depending on the selected node. So this is the key, it's the magic moment where we are creating, as a matter of fact, a dependencies from one context to the other. So the device provider context, this context, is pulling the selected node, and then with a use effect, we are monitoring, we are watching the selected node constantly until it changes. So React guarantees that with the use effect, we can monitor the changes of the selected node. And then I'm just going to print it something, flowers, and then see if the SSID of the selected node is there. So this should happen when we switch from one node to the other. So we should start see the flowers appear and that message. Let's see. Okay, boom. Here we have a use effect, select node, and the name of that Wi-Fi. Here again, the Vodafone, and then we switch to this one. So yes, it's working. We don't need this stuff anymore, right? What we want to do at this point is to call the use case of the load Wi-Fi devices passing the SSID. So what's going to happen is that, let's grab the use case for 1 second. The device, let's put it side by side, and I just made this one smaller. Okay, so we want to execute this method passing the Wi-Fi SSID, which will be coming from the selected node context. Okay, so let's draw carries this one. Actually, maybe we can grab this piece before nuking it. It's nuked. Okay, so when the selected node changes, what we want to do is to await. And here comes the interesting part. As we have to await it, we might need to wrap it around an async function. Yeah. So how about, yeah, he's suggesting it. This function async, and then essentially we have to pass the SSID and then set the Wi-Fi devices to what has been returned, right? Okay, so we need to call this function, right? Otherwise the party doesn't start. Okay, let's clean a little bit of this spaghetti thing. And in theory, as we are setting the Wi-Fi devices here from what is being returned, it should work. So we should see the device listed in real time, because there is the if condition. Well, let's see. We have something there. It looks like it's working, guys. Fantastic. So now when I switch from one to the other, you guys can see here the device list is being we have, for example, Vodafone, it's the Rammstein, Aarhus, and Metabox. And for the Wi-Fi 5e blah blah S1, there are these two elements, and this one, it's not there, so it's not returning nothing. So good news. Hooray, it's working. And you guys can see how powerful it is to essentially use the context and pull a bits and piece of data that we need for doing something else. But the other point I want to highlight is that the logic of how the Wi-Fi devices are pulled, it's not in the context at all. So we just have someone else passing the use case, and then we just execute it. So all the time that we need to change the code inside the use cases, it could be this one or also the nodes, we don't have to deal with React at all. So essentially, these guys are completely free from React code. It's just TypeScript, pure TypeScript, like class, execute, promise. There is no React code. So we are free from the framework in a way. Amazing. All right. Next thing to do could be to select the device in here and then display the details of that device in this part of the dashboard. What I think is that we don't need to make another API call. We imagine that once we get the data, it's just a matter of displaying the details in here. So no more API calls to or use cases to be implemented. Rather, we would have, but still, we need a way to store which device has been selected. Similar, we would take inspiration to how we are storing which Wi-Fi node we are selecting. Okay, and then we will style this because it looks ugly as hell. But first, let's commit and make it work. Right here is that context devices. Boom. Fantastic. Now we have to think about the device details, right? Which is nice and empty at the moment. It's not going to be too hard, I suppose, because all what we have to do, actually we have it already prepared. We have the selected device and selected device, but no one is selecting the is using the set. It's just empty. But the code was already prepared. So there are two things here. One is that we need to set the device selected when we go over. And then we have to read the selected device on the device detail part. Okay, so let's start from the writing part, which is obviously we need to implement this part in the device list. So here you can see where we are doing host name, and we might need a little bit of styling, just the bare minimum. So let's do that quickly and add a class name, of course, and device list works for me. Let's create a CSS. You know this dance. Port. I did something wrong. Oh, devices list. Okay. Let's split and then say devices list. To be honest, probably it looks like more like a table thing, but so now let's not worry too much about it. Let's just add some padding and things like that. So here we can call it device item. Let's add maybe a border, 1 pix, solid white. There we go. Some padding. 10 pix works. And maybe a cursor pointer. Fantastic. Maybe when we go over, we change the background. How about that? Wow, he's reading my mind. The color of the text should be black. I suppose I just missed the semicolon. Okay, not too ugly. So when we go over, we want to select it. Right, this is going to be quite easy. How about using on mouse enter? Mouse enter. It's going to console log the device. Yes. Let's see if the machine is working. It's a lot of red, annoying messages. So here we have selected the Wi-Fi, and then boom, boom, boom. You guys see them? Every time I move the mouse, it's selecting a different device. I'd rather say it's not selecting different, it's printing a different device. So let's be very specific about it. What we want to do is to connect this on mouse enter event with the context, so that the state management of the context will set internally the device. Why are we doing that? We are doing that because we want this information to be propagated somewhere else, which would be at the next, actually there, at the device details, of course, and maybe other parts of the dashboard in the future. So let's do this important step. So this one, this component devices list, really we use two contexts, one for reading the Wi-Fi devices and the other one is for writing. For writing the selected device. Actually, I got confused. They are not two contexts. I don't know why I said that. The devices context contains already all what we need. So the Wi-Fi devices and select the device and then the set. So what we want here is that we want to grab the set selected device, right? So this magic method, we are giving the power, and here comes the important part. We are giving the power to this controller, to this component to write on the context. So it's like the night has been titled with a special power, and the power is to insert the device in there. So when we set the device, the context will internally save it inside its state. At this point, you might have understood well how it works. Whoever is using this context can grab that information. And so what we want to do at this point is to go inside the other component, the device details, which should be this one on the right, and grab it. So again, const selected device, use context. I think you got it right. Device, import this, import that. Bada bing, bada bam. We can say that we can print the device details, right? Here we can set this title as, actually we had the title already. We just can't print it. What I think we should do at this point would be probably, yes, he's right. So the selected device is there. We print it. Look at that. Host name, signal strength. All of this is a little bit wrong, but let's take the structure and work from there. So we don't need a title. We have it already. If we don't have it, we print like a message. If we have it, we print all the information, but we don't have signal strength. Let's see. Look at that. Nice. It's working flawlessly. So you can see when I'm changing here the selected device, I go over one or the other, the information here on the right is changing. So awesome. Let's test a little bit also the other devices. So we have this one for the Vodafone, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then this one, which obviously are the other one.